Thanks for clicking on to another episode of Hook, Line, and Shifter. I'm your host, Bob McCarty. Another packed show for us this week. I got two great interviews. Jennifer Moos and Jack Mizzoni. Really talented athletes. This past weekend, we were at Markham Park for Florida State Championship Series Round 3, my home park. In the interview with Jack, you're going to hear about the outcome of his day against Ryan. Got the win. Jack wound up getting second in the 1939 class. 40 plus, proud to say Julio got himself another win. Julio got another win, round 3 of the Florida State Series. 50 plus, I got the win. And in the women expert, Jennifer Moos. Wait till you see this interview with her. I am so impressed with her attitude, her energy. It's pretty amazing to see. And as always, I can't do any of this without my fine sponsors, Orchist Technologies, Orchist.net, ESI Grips, ESI.com. Quite a variety of colors. Like I said before, no numb hands. Race chunky, extra chunky thicknesses of the grip to help your grip on the bar. Don't forget to use my discount code HLS2025 to get 20% off site-wide. Cycling, YUU, cycling.com. Same thing. They got a discount code HLS2025. 20% off site-wide. Cycling clothing that I and my team use. Amazing stuff. MASH Mobile Vet. Man, I don't know what to say. I don't know why every single person doesn't use MASH Mobile Vet or a similar organization in your area. Stressful for your animals, taking them to the vet. Stressful for you. Have that mobile hospital come directly to you. MASH Mobile Vet will show up at your front door with a hospital, taking care of all your veterinary needs at mashmobilevet.com. POC Helmets, POC.com. POC Helmets, same thing, much like MASH Mobile Vet. I've been on these things forever. What can I say? Amazing helmets, super lightweight, breathable. Can't go wrong with a POC helmet. NV Wheels, ENVE.com. NV Wheels are what's on my race bike, the M5. Carbon wheel, 24 spoke, 30 mil ID, killer engagement, ratchet engagement to the hub. Another set of great wheels. I'll tell you what, you can hear these things when somebody's got a set of NB wheels on their bikes. Pirelli Tires, Pirelli.com. Pirelli Tires. Once again, that new M tread pattern with the race compound to it. Killer tire. Use it this weekend at Markham. Man, that bike hooked up. I leaned the bike over as far as I want to. Those tires were grabbing. Pirelli tires, can't go wrong with those. And of course, Absolute Black. Absolute Black has a whole host of product in addition to their chain rings which I have been on forever. Narrow, wide, round, narrow, wide, oval. Been using oval chain rings for about 8 to 10 years now. I will not ride anything else. So check them out, absoluteblack.com. As always, don't forget about my discount code HLS2025 to get 20% off site-wide. All right, so what do we got? What do we got in the show today? Obviously, I got an interview with Jenn and Jack. Hope you like that part of the show. Let's see what Jenn and Jack have to offer. All right, and as promised, I have another amazing athlete with me today on Hook, Line, and Shifter. She is the 2011, probably doesn't know this or remember this far back, but she is the 2011 silver medalist in the Florida State Championship Series. I'll tell you what, the most extreme athlete that I know, the strongest mindset athlete that I know, coming from me, that's pretty good. A multi-time Xterra champion, Swiss Epic finisher. We'll get into the details of that. A mother, professional businesswoman, when she lines up, I'll tell you what, you better watch out because she's on it. Winner of the Florida State Championship Series, round 3 at Markham Park last weekend. But most of all, suffering is something that she has, that the ability to suffer is something that she has that I don't get. And by far, the toughest woman that I know. Welcome to the show, Jennifer Moos.
Thank you, Bob.
Did you recall that far back about being the Florida State silver medalist in 2011, some 14 years ago?
No, I didn't. But when you brought that up, I was thinking the same bike I had in 2012. I just raced at Fool's Gold. And you know, Bob, how I maintain my bikes in meticulous condition.
Yes, trust me, we are going to get into your discipline of maintaining your bikes and getting your equipment ready for racing. I'm going to get into all of those topics with you, so don't get too far ahead of me just yet, because that's one that
I was just going to say, it was like riding a rigid.
I know, it just fascinates me.
It used to be in full suspension.
When people actually, when they log on and then watch this interview with you and they get through the whole thing, they're going to be just as fascinated with me as about how successful you are with the lack of preparation, not the physical side, not the physical side. So Jenn, again, thank you for coming on my show today. I really appreciate you taking your valuable time to hang out and share with the fans and share with me a little bit about yourself. Having said all that, let's go back to the beginning. We're not going to talk about the Florida State Series race this weekend at Markham. Let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from? What is your background, and how did we get to this point that you're so damn good at this, at these sports? I don't even want to say mountain biking, but at these sports. Take us from the beginning.
I played soccer in high school. And when I went to college, I wanted to get into like multi-sport. Actually, I got my first mountain bike was a 2000 Hard Rock. And if I could ride 2 laps at Quiet Waters, oh my God, I felt like a champion, right? You know, usually you go there, ride 1 5-mile lap. You're like, whoa, if I did 2, it was awesome in that hill. I wish I could ride that hill again, the one in the beginning. You know, like it was like a mountain. But
so you were familiar with the pre-hurricane or pre-Wilma Quiet Waters, right?
All right? Yes.
Most people don't know about how good that park was. They only know today of Quiet Waters, it's so much better than it ever was. But the pre-Hurricane Wilma, it was an amazing park also.
Yeah, so that was probably like 20 some years ago now, right? I don't remember as much back then. I wish I could ride it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did remember the Ford Tough series.
Yep.
So I did a couple of races in the 15 to 19 or 15 to 18-year-old age group, whatever it is. And then there was an adventure race that was at Quiet Waters. And I did it because I didn't want to go to work that day. I worked for the Florida Panthers. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to go to work, but I want to do this race. If I sign up for it, then I can tell my boss, oh, I can't go to work because I'm going to do this race. So I was like, okay, I'm in now. Like, this is the final straw. I have to make this commitment. So I did it, and I came in first place female.
Okay, now hold that thought for 1 second. How old were you at this point?
I don't know, probably 19.
All right, 20, perfect. So you decided to go into this race because you didn't go to work. What was because I have a feeling that this is going to be a very good lead into the rest of the conversation.
That was it. This was all I needed.
You made the decision not to go to work you chose to do this race so you didn't have to go to work. What was the preparation leading up to that day, and then to turn around? This is the part that amazes me. And then to turn around and get first place in the female.
Oh, it's just paddle, bike, and run. Like I always paddle, bike, and run. So, Yeah,
Just paddle
yeah.
bike and
So
run.
that's what it was. But in adventure racing, everybody was looking for a strong female, because it's a co-ed sport. And I was racing solo. So from that point on, people are like, "Oh, do you want to race? Yeah, yeah, let's go." Like, where are we going? And it just went from one to the next to the next. And yeah, I was so hooked. And Eddie Cremonese, Coffee Hub Eddie.
Yep.
We did our first expedition race in 2007, raced coast to coast across the state of Florida. And I remember doing an overnight training session. This is back when he raced. We did an overnight training session in Homestead. And I told him, I was like, man, you got to find another teammate. Like, I am not cut out for this stuff. And then, like he told me he would look, whatever. Of course, he never looked, never tried. It was the best race of my life. Oh my God, it was amazing. And yeah, like I love sports. I love that mental challenge, like whether you know what you're doing or not, it's tough and you just go.
What do you think? What do you attribute that to? Is it were your parents any sort of extreme athletes or endurance athletes?
Definitely not. No way.
Well,
No.
I'm just so fascinated with you as to where this attitude, this I'm not going to quit attitude comes from.
Okay, so in between there, I rode in college.
Okay.
I went, my mom showed me this newspaper ad, or not an ad, like a story in the newspaper. Nova Southeastern was started a women's rowing team. So I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I can get in. This is my big opportunity to be an NCAA athlete. And I went and I talked to the coach. He's so awesome. And he's like, Moos, I can promise you, as a rower, it will make you a better athlete in every single other sport you do. And like,
Okay.
he was just spot on. Like, have you ever been on an erg, a rowing
Maybe.
machine? Oh
No.
my gosh, I feel the strongest like when I'm rowing. Like, it can be the strongest at biking, if I'm biking and erging, if I'm paddling and erging, if I'm running and erging. Like, it is a complete full body sport and it is so mental because it is so hard.
So
But yeah, so
it
I rode for Nova for 3 years.
okay. And I'm assuming that's kind of what kicked off this person that you are today, or that energy that you have today, and that non-quit today. This is
Oh my
really
God. Well, it's a suffer fest. You know what I mean? Like the fastest 2,000 meters of your life all the time, like the fastest 7 minutes. Everything is about like that 7 minutes, like you have to be mentally tough, right? And you're on a team and you guys have to be on at the same time all the time,
Mhm.
to be in sync. It's
Got
awesome.
it.
And I also coached rowing too,
So, and when's the last time that you rode?
like in a boat.
Yeah, yep.
Not in my backyard on a rowing machine. Gosh, a couple of years since I've had kids. They have like little reunion gatherings,
Okay.
but not competitively
And do you
since I
think
graduated.
do you think there's a significant connection between training rowing and what you're doing on a bicycle?
Yeah, for sure. You mean like physically?
Yeah, exactly,
Physically and
exactly.
mentally. Oh my God, I suffer in both of them. For sure. Like, I don't just go in my garage and sit. I do listen to podcasts, which is crazy because I can listen to these podcasts on nutrition and fitness and finance and all this stuff while I'm like pushing 30-second intervals.
What
But
would be
that's
a
when your
long
brain absorbs the most.
right? What would be a long sitting on the rowing machine?
An hour.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's led you into all of that fitness has kind of led you into the path of where we're at today. I know you've done these Xterra things, these extreme events
Yeah.
before. Give me some of those of you that you've done that have been very memorable, and what you physically and emotionally went through in it.
Oh my gosh. Like, the hardest adventure race
Yep.
that I've ever done was
Yes.
the World Championships in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Um, which this is thanks to Eddie again. because he had 3 Brazilian teammates that got a last minute sponsorship to go, and they were looking for a strong female. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go. I have to learn Portuguese and all this stuff. And I knew it was going to be so tough, but the guys were awesome, and they knew a little bit of English for the first 24 hours. And then you're sleep deprived. Oh my gosh. And then it was like racing for 10 days with people that you couldn't really communicate with. But I mean, you know when each other is suffering. So I knew like barely a little bit of Portuguese, and they could still speak, somewhat a little bit of English. But the course is, I think, one of the toughest that they've had in an adventure race world championship.
So let's go back. Give me because I'm completely into this event right now. How many days, go back to the beginning because I really know nothing about it. How many days, how long in each leg of it that you were doing? And it's a team competition. Give me the breakdown of it, because you're throwing out some things that I can't even register with it. Give me the start. How many people, how long, and what are the stages like?
Yeah, so adventure racing is my passion. Like I feel everything that I do in mountain biking prepares me for that one time again where I'm going to go back like to the adventure racing World Series and do these expedition length events. They're like life changers. But they're usually like 3 to 5 days. The World Championship this year was 10 days in Costa Rica.
Okay.
It's all on a co-ed team, so you have to have a male and a female.
Okay.
And gosh, I don't know how many, 800 kilometers. I don't know what it was. I know that we had, you vary, you go paddle, bike, run, bike, paddle, ropes. Like it varies. And sometimes they'll give you, general idea of what the course is.
Okay.
But everything, it's all navigating by map and compass.
And how do you prepare for something like that? How do you prepare for something like that? I don't care what you're supposed to do. I'm more interested in how do you prepare for that?
Right. Like I used to, let's see, maybe 15 years ago, I used to ride the levee, for a couple of hours and, ride my bike at the trails, which I don't really do that much. I ride in the garage. I paddle.
Okay.
But then I was doing a bunch of like 24-hour races. So I felt like I had all these, this training time in between, say maybe 15-ish hours a week that I would train, paddle, bike, and run and strength. And then, do a bunch of 24-hour races. I traveled a lot, like say 2012 to 2016,
Okay. And so this Costa Rica race that was 10 days.
Yeah.
Was there how did you feel overall over the course of 10 days? And is it every day when you wake up and you have to go and literally beat the hell out of your body? Is it just that's part of the routine? That's part of what you're going to do every day? How did your mind and your body get you through such an event?
So funny, Bob, because some nights you don't sleep.
Okay.
It starts at day 1 and it ends at day 10, and you're always on the clock.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is no staged race.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of sleepless nights. You sleep in a ditch for a couple of hours. Actually, probably maybe like 2 hours probably was the longest rest that we had. Over
the
10
longest
days.
rest.
Gosh, how much time would I have slept? Maybe 20 hours over 10 days. I don't know. That might be a little much.
Any injuries occur over this that you just have to push through, or is it just the aches and pains?
Yeah, I mean, it's mentally tough. You cry, you're happy, you experience every single emotion. Yeah, it is like the ultimate. the ultimate test of endurance, right? That's where my strength comes from. That's where I'm like, oh, just go. Like, you have suffered so much. I've slogged for, I remember there was a 72-hour trek section in there. And I just remember being so sleep deprived and hallucinating. And I kept on seeing a picnic table. Like, every time we'd go around a corner, I'd see this picnic table, and my mom was sitting there. And I was like, so happy to see her. And then I'd get closer and she wasn't there, and then I remember telling myself, I feel like I'm gonna have babies pop out of my toenails. Like, your feet get so swollen and you have blisters all over that they stick needles inside. You stick needles inside to drain it. People have nasty like feet and stuff after 10 days of being wet. We did
The fact that you're smiling while telling the story is it's just absolutely fascinating to me. I thought some of the things I do were extreme, but I am absolutely nothing. I am nothing compared to what you're telling us right now.
Yeah. We had 100 kilometers in an inflatable 2-person kayak in the mangroves. Some people were stuck at low tide when they got, when they took the wrong routes.
Is it more for you, like when registration comes up, are you looking at this more of, I'm looking forward to doing this because physically, I think it's safe to say physically, you are no better off when this event is over. I find it hard to believe that anything is physically better. But I'll tell you what, after a 10-day race like that, crossing the finish line, you are emotionally a tough son of a gun to finish that, which you then carry. You can carry that energy into the rest of your life, and know that you can almost get yourself through anything when you've put yourself through something like that. Is that part of the energy that helps you, or the mentality that helps you, is, okay, my body's going to break down. It is what it is, but I'm going to fight everything I can in my mind right now. Is that one of the key things to try and make those events somewhat achievable?
Oh, right. Like, I know I'm going to suffer. I know I'm going to cry. I know I'm going to be in such a hard spot, right? But you keep going. And it's something that I tell my kids too, when they do something really hard. But you've been through this now, so when you go through something similar again, it's going to seem that much easier, so sometimes, like, when I'm in a really hard spot, like, I wasn't trained, so I did Fool's Gold last month. I wanted to see Beata, and I was in North Carolina, and that was my opportunity to see her, to go suffer for 6 hours with her on a race course. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so not prepared for this. My bike is my bike. Up there, we have, I have issues. So
yes, I'm going to get into it. I know you have issues.
So freaking hard. Like, it was such a hard race, and I wasn't prepared at all. And I don't do a lot of endurance stuff, but, like, I know, when I'm hurting so bad, like, you just keep moving.
And how did you place at Fool's Gold?
3rd.
Oh, wow. Yeah, bummer. I thought this was going to get.
I suffered a lot, for my state that I was in at that time. Like, I put forth a lot of effort and enjoyed the company, and I can always train more. You know what I mean? But it's so many sacrifices.
Absolutely.
I want to run. I want to paddle. I love strength training. Oh my gosh, when I'm strength training, if I feel strong, that is so awesome. For me to feel strong, and I'm willing to sacrifice other things. Like, what if I biked all the time?
Right.
Like, what could I do?
It would be amazing what you could do if you actually
be capable of.
Right, if you focused in on one discipline.
I'd probably be injured though, Bob, right? Because I don't bike enough. I don't do any sport enough to have an overuse injury.
I have a feeling injury is the least of worries for what you have the ability to do. The event that Jen's referring to for Fool's Gold, it's up in Dahlonega, Georgia. It's approximately a 60-mile race, and there's, I don't know, eight to maybe 9,000 feet of climbing. It's a pretty significant race. Unfortunately, it's condition dependent a lot of times because the forestry will close the route in the event of rain. So they have a rain route as opposed to an open course or a full off-road course. Last year, Jen, they had the full mountain bike course. It wasn't the wet course, correct? The wet route?
Yeah, so this was just a couple of weeks ago or like a month
Oh,
ago.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think last year, right, it was a gravel road, maybe.
Correct.
Gravel,
Last year
and
we
then
had
this year was the trail, yeah.
yeah, last year
Which,
we had to
man, the
run the
last
rain
time I
route.
did it was in 2014. And I thought it was like all nice and groomed. You know what I mean? Man, there was like some really sick, washed out stuff. I'm just
Yeah.
like holding on my brakes. My brake
Yep.
box.
11
Gosh.
years of erosion. That's what
And
Fool's
then
Gold
sometimes
is about.
my brakes weren't working. Pax is like, oh, look at this. You got air in your line. He's like, look, when we put your bike up this way, you
The
know,
brake lever
yeah,
goes to the grip.
yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why on the downhills or whatever it was, like I'm losing my brakes. And then when it levels out again, oh, they're back.
Right. So losing your brakes on the downhill. What a great thing.
I
Let's
never
stay on
lost
that.
both at the same time.
Oh, great. Let's stay on that topic for 1 second. Where do you think your skill set comes from? I've had the opportunity to ride in the trail with you a few times, and you can clearly handle a bicycle. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, maybe adventure racing, sometimes we like ride off trail, like
Hmm.
not really on a trail, like off trail. Um, I don't
But you
know.
but you
I
don't have
never
a
do.
chance
Could you
to.
imagine if we had a lesson together?
I
Do you know how
know
much
that.
I learned? You'd probably say, Moose, that's not a good line. No,
I,
don't pick those lines. And I'm like,
yeah.
Bob, but I just gotta go.
Yeah, that's the problem. And the problem is that you're so damn good on these mountain bike races, yet I wonder what it would be like if you actually,
Had
I don't
skill.
know, practice mountain bike, hung out with me, came to my Moto Mondays. What we could
I
actually
should. I
do with you
should.
would be amazing. But I'll tell you what, whatever it is that you're doing, just keep on doing it because you're an amazing athlete. Let's get into this weekend. So this weekend we had the Florida State Championship Series round 3 at Markham Park. Jen hasn't done any of the other events in the series yet. This is the first one that she showed up for. And I'll have to say, really, I don't want to say destroyed the girls, but won by a pretty good margin. The Jen lap times were a 26:50, 27:36, and a 27:34. Average speed of 14.7 miles an hour. That's probably in the top 5% of everybody that was racing the event this weekend. That first lap time of a 26:50 is actually somewhat of an abbreviated lap because the starting line is off to the side. You don't have to go through the starting chute. So I would say it was probably closer to a 27, maybe a 27:10 or so. So let's call it a 27:10, 27:36, and 27:34. One of the things that I talk about before we get into what happened during the race, I constantly talk about negative splitting. Negative splitting is the art of trying to get faster and or consistent as the day goes on. You did a really good job at it. Looking across the board at the rest of the class, most people didn't have that good of a negative split or stay as consistent. What do you think you can attribute your consistent lap times to? On your smile about negative splitting, I have a feeling I know what this response is going to be, but how do you have the ability to control your lap times like you do and run pretty good laps?
I'm so interested to know what you think, but it's just time on the trail. right? Because I
Okay.
don't ride the trails much. So every lap, I feel like, oh yeah, I should have taken that line the first time, or oh hey, there's another line, or hey, I know what's coming up now, like it's I think it's more experience on the trail versus the prior couple of laps. Um,
I would agree with you there. One of the topics that I usually bring up when it comes to this negative splitting, it doesn't mean that you are getting stronger as the day goes on. Fatigue is inevitable. It's going to set
yeah,
in. You do a better job of pacing yourself, but the idea is the course will actually clean up. In this case, corners will push. Your lines get a little bit better, so your speed gets offset by the fact that there is some fatigue. I don't necessarily think with you that there's a whole lot of fatigue, but I would definitely agree that as the course gets better, your lap times can in some cases go into the negative split. So it isn't necessarily that you're just riding harder. I think I would agree with you that the course just got better and you learned it a little bit more. It's amazing to think again where we started the conversation that what would happen if I could actually get you on course or training with me consistently out there, what we could try and do with your abilities.
yeah.
Having said all that, Jen, there's something about you that stands out in my eyes. I've had the fortunate experience of hanging out with you and talking. You have what I would refer to as a Jekyll and Hyde type of attitude. Outside or when you cross the finish line, to me, you seem to be the happiest person, for me, the easiest one to approach and talk to.
I was
Just
suffering on the course. I'm happy it's over.
okay. But I think when you have that personality, but I also think when uh, use the term when the gate drops or the whistle goes off,
Yeah.
I think there's a different mentality of, okay, this is my job for the next 90 minutes. This is what I'm going to do. I don't care what's happening around me. I'm going to go. You have that amazing attitude that when it comes time to go, that you're going to go. In this race, we always talk about whole shot to checkers based on your lap time. Whole shot is defined as who gets into the single track first, and then obviously checkers going to the finish line. You put almost 2 minutes on the girls in the first lap, and then built more on that as the day went on. Did you go whole shot to checkers?
Yeah. So when we started, you know, you wanted to be positioned on the right, right? So you didn't get cut off by that sign at the pump track.
Okay, so you chose you
Right?
chose you chose to go way right to run a straighter
No,
line.
I get so nervous before a race starts, Bob. I could just vomit all over everybody. Okay. I get so sick. I am so sick. I
Even
feel
even
so
even
weak.
today, even today, as successful as you are, you still have nerves when you line up and racing as long as you have. I find that so hard to believe.
Oh my gosh, no. Like before I leave the house, say I get up 2 hours before I leave, I probably spend like 30 minutes of that going back and forth to the bathroom. Like,
Wow.
oh
I would have
my
never
gosh,
thought.
again, like I feel so sick. I feel so sick. I feel so unprepared. Why am I doing this? But I know like I love this. You know what
You're
I mean? I
probably,
love.
I have to interrupt you. You're probably thinking all of this because you're looking at your bicycle with a rusted chain, knowing that you haven't been on it in weeks. That's part of the conversation. I wanted the conversation to lead in today is your preparation is absolute shit. But
Oh
anyways,
my
so
gosh. Yeah.
but anyways, your
So
bike's got a rusty chain. Why would you not have a little bit of anxiety about starting the race? But it sounds to me like that's not even a consideration when you're ready to
no, it's
line
not
up.
because I took my bike to Alex's and they fixed me right up. My
Okay.
brake lever was bleeding. My chain was like rusted. You could bend it in half. But I
Yeah.
didn't want to replace my chain because I drip all over it on the trainer. So I'm like, until
Okay.
something comes off, I'm just gonna keep on riding. And then I'm telling myself, oh Bob, I'm pushing more watts than that thing is telling me because it has no idea that have this rusty chain. It's like Garmin has no idea that I just ran to the library. That yeah, I might have run at a 10-minute mile, but I'm pushing two kids a stroller load of books, right? Garmin doesn't know that. tell me what my VO2 max is. It's a lot higher than what you think. So, yeah, so I get so sick before the race. So I'm like, oh, this is a bad spot, to be all the way to the left because I'm going to have to brake right before that sign unless I can get in. You know what
So
I
why
mean?
why
So the
why were you
girls are
not to
so fast
why were you
because I
not to the
felt
right?
sick. I'm like so sick. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I'm like, like I just get like sick and nauseous. And it's funny because Beata, as much as she races, we are like the same before the race. We're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with us? Why are we doing this? We're so sick. Can't we just go ride our bike to the glacier and enjoy Switzerland? So I stayed, over to the left because there was a little more space. And then I got behind. And then right before you go down where it narrows to go to Yo Mama, I was like, oh, I don't really like, I got to get in before that tree. And I just managed to get in like in front, right? So at that far end of the pump track.
Yep.
And then by the time I went in Yo Mama, there was a big gap and I was just like, I was dying. And I just like, like I know I'm going to die for the next, 90 minutes. So I just have to manage it. And I just kept on trying to flow as much as I could. And I'm counting the seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? Like on what the gap is until I can relax a little bit.
At what point do you think you're relaxed? At what point do you think you relaxed?
When I cross the finish line.
Really? So that same stress and anxiety from the time they say go.
That? Oh yeah. No. And once Dave says like go, it's gone. It's gone. In any race, it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's another question that again is probably going to upset a lot of people. How many times have you ridden Markham Park in the last, I don't know, hell, I'll go with the last month. How many times have you ridden Markham Park in the last month?
I went there on Saturday to pre-ride a couple laps.
Okay.
And then I came back later on my 27 and a half because I had to bring the other one to Alex's with my rusty chain. And then I picked that up and I rode the kids loop. So that was like, I guess you'd call that 3.5 laps.
So you pre-rode on your 27 and a half the day before the race. Yeah. And then you went and threw down what you did on the day of the race. Yeah.
The rest is all on the trainer. I bike on the trainer maybe like 3, 4, 5 hours, like in a really good week. Maybe.
So you live on any particular program? Do you use Ruby or Swift? What do you use?
I started using Trainer Road.
Okay,
after
Trainer
I
Road.
had
Okay.
Kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
5 and 8.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could give somebody a piece of advice, another female out there that tries to or might want to get into the sport, might want to live a more active lifestyle. I do not recommend to the extreme that you are, but having said all that, what piece of advice might you give somebody, another fellow female, of how to balance family, kids, training, a job? What do you think is the success for somebody that somebody else can try and follow?
I just like, for me, I try not to overthink things. Okay. I know I do a lot and I overanalyze a lot, but like, it's just go. Like for me, I don't wake up and always say, oh, I can't wait to do this. I just have to start. It's like, just put one foot forward and then it all comes together and then it's addictive. Then I don't want to stop. Oh, I'll be gone for half an hour, no, then it's like, no, why did I say half an hour? I want to be out here all day long, yeah, but it's hard with kids and my partner and I separated. So it's been a very transitional summer, just trying to figure out how everything comes together. And then I homeschool my kids, which is awesome. And I work in property management, so I work from home mostly. And I work sporadically, sometimes in 5-minute increments, but I can work super early in the morning or late at night. So I don't have a specific time where I say, okay, I'm going to train. at this point or this point. And sometimes my training is like yesterday, I ran with my daughter to Publix, and the lady's like, "How are you going to get all that stuff home?" I said, "Oh, like I have all my carabiners and I have all my groceries like hanging off the side of the stroller. The underneath is packed. Kate's got stuff in her arms, and it's just like hysterical. But not only is it fun for me, it's like the people on Riverwalk look at me like, "What is she doing?" And I just smile. Like I just go. I just get out. I haven't had a car for 10 years in September.
I think one of the things that just stood out was or two of the things is try not to over analyze and just do it. Just put one foot in front of the other and just make the effort. It doesn't have to be anything as extreme as what you're doing, but it's the idea of just trying to get started. Try and get started with that movement, and then progress ever so slightly. So a great piece of advice there, Jenn. What kind of bike are you currently on? I have a couple of just quick rapid fire questions for you. What kind of bike are you currently on?
Thanks to Chris Frederick, I am on a BMC. My gosh, I think.
Porsche.
What year is it? Oh my gosh, I was going to say, I think it's a 2012. What is it? This is 2025. It's a 2022 four-stroke, which I think they've redesigned since. But I like it.
It's a good bike. I built it for you.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yes,
yeah.
I know. The question wasn't for me. It was for everybody. It was for everybody else out there. All right. Another one.
It's not about the bike, Bob. It's not about the bike.
There you go. The bike has a little bit to do with it, but clearly in your case, it's all about you. What kind of, I don't even know why I'm throwing these out there, but I'm going to go with it. What tire pressure are you running right now?
So I put some squirt lube in there. Not squirt lube. I put some tire sealant in.
Yeah, that's smart.
And
okay.
Then I blew it up really high.
Okay,
so
get it seated. Okay.
And then I let out some pressure.
Okay. And that's what you went with. Okay.
And
so you put some all right, perfect. So we put some squirt sealant in the whole thing, filled it up a lot for the bead to set, and then we let some out. For those of you looking for advice about tire pressure, you can just fast forward past.
I squeezed it,
Yeah, of course. You pinch the sidewall and say, that's good. All right.
A tire pressure gauge is on my list of something to get.
Listen, Jenn, I've said this to you almost every time I see you. You be you. Don't change anything you're doing. Don't worry about a tire pressure gauge. Don't worry about chain lube, and just bring the bike to me before you're ready to race. I'll get it set up. Not that that's going to change the outcome of the day for you. How many hours a week in general between all the different things that you do would you say is an average week? Not the I'm preparing for an event, but just an average week to do the things that you do.
It seems like it should be a lot more than what it is, but really, like, the time that I log is probably just 7 hours.
Okay,
really
that's not.
It's really not much, but I'm active with the kids.
Right.
Like if we go to the playground, you'll see, some people sitting around on their phones. You'll see Jenn Moos over here doing pull-ups on the monkey bars and doing some squats. I call those playground plyometrics, just to keep moving, but I try and do like bike intervals, like hard intervals.
Okay.
Twice a week.
Okay.
And then even when I lift weights, like I lift circuit, like in a circuit, and if I get 20 minutes, I can get so much accomplished in 20 minutes. Like I used to think that you used to have to log like all this time, but really it's just doing and going hard, a couple times a week.
Right, I agree. I think it's more about the quality as opposed to the quantity. If you do
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
ability to have quantity, it definitely doesn't hurt, but
yeah,
the quality is more important. And I think another good thing that you keep bringing up is that you're finding ways to be active. You're finding ways to get stronger. You're finding ways to build your fitness. Like you said,
yeah,
it's pushing Kate to the grocery store to get your groceries and then
yeah,
strapping the bags on yourself to go home. Whatever it takes. I think it's just trying to think outside the box as opposed to
yeah,
getting a gym membership or trying to figure out when and where and how you're going to pedal your bike. It's just about being, like you said, putting one foot in front of the other, getting out there and trying to be active. Is there any sponsors that you have that helps you do the things that you do? You mentioned Chris and BMC. Is there anybody else that helps you do what you do?
yeah. So, Squirt paid for Beata and I to go to Switzerland, so they sponsored that
And
race for us.
by the way, on Switzerland, did your fork work in Switzerland?
Oh
Your
my gosh.
fork?
So they kept on saying, you have to have a dropper. You have to have a dropper. Next thing you know, like my dropper doesn't work. So, like, the bike is awesome, but even if my dropper worked, like Bob, I don't know how to use a dropper.
Okay.
So I'm like going down this steep thing, and like my bum is hitting the tire. Like it is just so steep. And, if I knew how to use a dropper, like it would have been a little bit easier. Um, a lot of times, because the bike is on the trainer, I forget to unlock my fork, maybe until I'm a couple laps into a race. I'm like, did I just do that? Um, what did
I
I have
just
some issues with? Oh, the
I just
end cap
smile with
wasn't
you.
on my wheel, so my brake was rubbing, and I'm like, nobody can figure out how my brake is rubbing, and taking my bike apart to put it back on the plane, and Pax is like, "Hey, did you know this?" And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like I tried to tell everybody, "Look, my brake is rubbing."
Okay.
It's always something.
All
It's
right.
always
So
something.
squirt.
But yeah,
So
the bike is awesome. The
perfect.
wheels
So
came from Vulo. The wheels are awesome.
okay. And squirt
Yeah,
helped you.
and
Anybody
Squirt.
else?
Yeah,
Anybody else?
nah, just my parents. They love me.
Okay.
They help support me by giving me some time to work out. They know I'm so much more productive at work when I can get my workouts in.
I'm sure after this interview with you today or after the show today, you're going to have a lot more people that probably love you too. This is you're fascinating. You're fascinating to me. Any injuries over your career that have been not the little ones that happen, occasionally, but any significant injuries that you've had?
No,
Good.
no, I've
Good
been
for
so
you.
lucky. No,
Let's try to
holding a baby all the time for like 2 years, and then a year off, and then 2 more years. I had this elbow injury. I couldn't paddle and lift weights for like a whole year.
okay.
But then besides that, I mean, that's like insignificant.
Perfect. Is there is there anybody that in your career that was a favorite athlete for you or someone that is or was a mentor or somebody that you really looked up to that has driven you to be who you are today?
Everybody, right? Like I don't have anybody specific, but like people that I ride with, like I find inspiration in everybody on the trails, and even when I'm jogging on Riverwalk, you know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
coming across other people, or and the teammates that I adventure race with, just suffering together, like being with somebody when they are at their toughest time and at their best and their worst, and just feeling all of those emotions, and just I love just to be around other people in sport who feel those same emotions that you do, you know?
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. What's next for you?
Oh gosh, I don't have anything. Can you believe that? I
I
have
don't.
hopes of doing stuff.
Will we see
I'm
you
always going to
anymore?
be fit. I'll always be paddling, biking, and running in case something comes up.
Right. If something spontaneously pops up and you have to wipe that rust off your bicycle chain and get ready to go racing again.
Yeah.
We have Alva in a couple weeks, Amelia at the end of or at the beginning of December.
Yeah.
Maybe the girls will be fortunate enough to have you line up with them again. I struggled with trying to track you down. What I mean by track you down is if there's another fan or somebody that wants to follow what you do you have Strava or Facebook, Instagram, anything like that? How does somebody follow you?
Yeah, so I have all of those, but
Okay.
I just try and keep my phone away.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I try, like like to know a little bit about what's going on, and I could do such a better job of like being in social media,
Hmm.
but I struggle to find time because Bob, I want to do a bazillion things every day. Like I run out of time. I'm on day, what's my streak? I was telling them at the bike shop because they were like, da, 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 pregunta. I was like, oh my God, I know that means question. She has a question. She has a question about her bike. I'm on day 84 with Duolingo, like my streak. I'm playing, my son is Luke is playing piano. So I'm learning piano with him. Those are like my two non-sport things that I try and do like every day, every other day. Um,
So it sounds like
yeah, so
if
I have a hard time like keeping up with social media. I wish I could just be on social media and do something like real quick, but I
that's a,
have like, yeah, and I travel these awesome places and I'm always in North Carolina with the kids and there's so much cool stuff I could post and I don't,
all right. So fair enough.
but I do have it. Yeah.
If somebody wants to try and track you down, I'm sure they can dig into it somehow to track you down. Don't expect too much of your
Yeah.
postings, or somehow it's kind of like Santa Claus. Somehow they're going to run into you at a race somewhere. But I'll tell you what, if you are fortunate to see Jen at a race, definitely go up, say hi to her, and watch what she's going to do on a race course because it is very impressive. And then watch the energy outside of the race course. I don't think what you've given me here today, Jen, is any false sense of who you are. This is the same person that I've seen for years at the race.
Yeah.
One last thing for you before I let you go. Is there any one piece of advice that you would want to give somebody to live an active, healthy lifestyle? You had mentioned before to women just about getting one foot in front of the other, but just for athletes in general, somebody that says, "Man, I want to have that energy. I want to be like Jen." What one piece of advice might you give to somebody out there that wants to have that same passion and energy that you do?
I think you have to surround yourself with the people that you want to be like what you want to become, right? So if I want to be active, I have to surround myself like with active people and get that feed off that inspiration that you get from them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, yeah, like if I want to be a better mountain biker, I better get myself to the trails and go ride with those people, you know?
Right.
um, yeah, just surround yourself with good fun people that want to do the same things that you want to do, and just in order to get there, right, you just got to get out the door. It goes back to that putting one foot in front of the other. Try not to overthink, just start.
Right.
Yeah.
That what a great piece of advice. Well, Jen, this interview was exactly the direction I thought it was gonna go. I greatly appreciate you taking your time today away from the kids to hang out with me on Hook, Line, and Shifter. And as always, if there's anything that I can do for you at any one of the races that we show up at, I'll be more than happy to. But mostly, but mostly is don't be afraid to get me that bike before a race so I can make sure it gets to the finish line. I know you're going to do everything you can to make sure it gets to the finish line, but I'll make sure the bike can get to the finish line.
And make
So
sure I'm
Jen,
running the right tire pressure.
I will take care of everything for you. So again, Jen, I appreciate your time today. I look forward to seeing you at some more of the races coming up. Thank you for hanging
Thanks,
out with me
Bob.
today on Hook, Line, and Shifter.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Be well. All right, and as promised, another phenomenal interview for today on Hook, Line, and Shifter. He currently is hanging on to second place overall in the 25 Florida State Championship Series. Finished second this weekend in Sunrise. fourth in Tallahassee, second in Jacksonville, one of Dirt Camp's amazing athletes. But most of all, I believe he's going to be the next one on a short list of names to don that elite Florida State #1 plate. It's a very, very short list, but I think he can do it. It's my pleasure to introduce Jack Mizzoni to Hook, Line, and Shifter. Thanks for coming on the show today, Jack. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Great. I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here, learn a little bit about your past. I would refer to you as rookie-ish in the Florida State Championship Series. But I don't think that your your performance reflects that rookie at all. But very, very young to the sport and an amazing athlete, very, very talented. Before we get into the race this past weekend at Markham Park and a little bit more about the Florida State Series, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background in cycling?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ocala, Florida, 10 minutes away from Santos. And I've been racing bikes for now, I think about 11 or 12 years, at least riding for 12 years. I don't know how long I've been racing technically, but a long time. And I just fell in love with the sport because my dad, he just took us out every now and then and just, goofed around out there, for an hour or so. And, after a while, I just fell in love with it, wanted to race. And 11 years later, here we are.
What was your first race? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was either the Hammerhead 25. That was either my first one, or it was Lake Carter Road down in Lakeland, the FSC. I think it was either one of those two. I don't remember exactly, but it was one of those.
And how old were you for that first race?
I think I was 9. I think I was either 9 or 10, something like that.
And how'd you do? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No, I remember racing Angel though. That was my first memory, and that was scary racing against him, especially being not good, right? So that was fun. But I think I got lost on my first race. I think the first lap I took it was only one lap, of course, because I was a young kid, and
Okay.
I took a wrong turn, and that was the end of it, probably. But yeah, it was an adventure for sure.
Angel is quite the talented athlete, just like yourself. I look forward to seeing what the two of you or how the two of your careers wind up progressing.
Yeah.
So that was your first race. Any BMX or anything like that in your past, or did you dive right into mountain biking? And when you dove into mountain biking, have you always been on a 29?
So my first ever bike was a GT La Bamba, not a La Bamba, a Avalanche, GT Avalanche. So it was like a just basic 26-inch hardtail. That was my first ever mountain bike. And then before that, I was on just like kids bikes and stuff like that. But no, my first ever real bike was a cross country bike, and that's what I got into at first.
And that one was a 29. Do you remember? Like your first
Uh,
real cross country bike?
it was a 26-inch, yeah.
Oh, 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then
Yep.
what was your first 29? And do you remember that transition?
I do. That was a big deal. I got it. It was on a Christmas day. I got my first 29. It was at the time, before stump jumpers are now what they are, they were the hardtail version of the Epic. So
Okay.
it was that orange and black, like neon orange specialized stump jumper. Like it was first
Okay.
ever carbon frame and first ever 29-inch. And that was a big game changer for me.
Wow. And do you remember your first race on that bike?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was some of the endurance races. I think either one down at like Bomboyette or even Hammerhead, something like that. It was something like one of the January or February
Okay.
endurance races, whichever one took place there.
And what you had mentioned, the first one of your first races either being Lakeland or the Hammerhead 25. You attempted the 25-mile race solo even at 9 years old?
Yeah, it was just a local race. I think me and my dad had no idea what it entailed. So we both did it, and I don't remember what happened to him, but I remember struggling for a while out there.
Uh, what Jack is referring to, or what I'm talking about, he said he grew up in Ocala or Santos. Santos has three different trail systems: the Santos Trailhead, Vortex, and Land Bridge. Each one of them is a little bit different of trail conditions or the style of riding, in my opinion. The land bridge is probably the longest and flowing, smoothest sections. What of the three, when you started riding, what was your go-to section? What were you closest to?
So closest to Santos. I think I can ride to Santos in like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. But as a kid, I just loved doing like the jumps and the hard
Okay.
tech stuff. So I loved being out in the Vortex area. So me and my dad would just always venture out there and do some of just the hard loops out there just because that's what I enjoy to do. But we definitely
So
stuck a
you
lot on the Santos side for sure.
okay, so you would say you're more into the technical riding as opposed to the, I don't say non-technical, because in mountain biking there's something you got to learn from all of it, but you'd prefer more technical riding?
Yeah, for sure. I love just the rocks and the everything like that. I'm a fan of that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tie back into that because I talked to you briefly after Markham
Mhm.
last weekend about the conditions that we get to race there, and this actually makes a little bit more sense now, knowing the way you answered my questions on Sunday about the conditions. How many races do you think you've you've done? And I don't know if I've said in some of my other shows I'm pretty good at keeping track of all of my personal races. I would suggest to you try to do the same because it'll mean something to you much later in your career. But how many races do you think you've done? And how you're 20? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. How many races have you done? You think you've done?
So I guess I've done FSC, like the complete FSC 10 years, which is maybe about, I guess, 9 races. So that's probably about like, I probably didn't do all of them. So probably like 85 there. And then throughout like the past, well, I guess in about past 4 years, I've done like the UCI National Series, which are probably like 5, 6 years. So I'd say I've done about probably about 200, 250 total,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah, like with the
Uh,
endurance races and those UCI races and the FSCs and all those like small like Hump Day Hustle we have in Ocala, all those little stuff like that. Probably about 250, I'd say.
Okay, that's great, man. It's an amazing number to have that early in your career. Try
Mhm.
to keep that motivation and stay on top of it. In 2023, you finished third in the FSC in the elite category. Was that your debut year in the elite, or did you debut in 22?
No, it was 21 was my actually first year.
Oh, okay. How did you
Yep.
finish in 21? Do you remember?
Yeah. 2021 I finished okay, I'm trying to think back at what plates I have. 2021, I think I was like 11th overall in the series, but I think I finished fifth in the 19 to 39. So
Okay.
like 11th overall, then 19 to 39, fifth. And then the next year I got ninth overall and fifth as well in the 19 to 39. And then I got third overall and third in the 1939 in 2023.
Okay. And then how did you finish last year?
Fourth
In
overall, fourth in the 1939.
Okay, so fourth last year. And then this year you're hot on Ryan's tail, chasing him. What is it like to No, you know what? Let me come back to this one. What do you think the difference is? Because you mentioned about racing the national series and out of the state of Florida. What do you think the biggest difference is from racing in Florida as opposed to out of Florida at somebody at your level, and at your level meaning the athlete that you are today? What's the difference?
Yeah, I the biggest thing for me or the hardest thing for me is the time, like the length of the races. So like for instance, we went to Arkansas back in I believe it was I guess it was April. And the race was there. It was 7 laps, so a shorter lap, but it still ended up being an hour and a half. But here, like even Markham, where I'd count as like a shorter FSC race, we were still pushing an hour 40. So that's
Right.
like the hardest thing for me, especially on that last fourth lap where Ryan has that last lap kick. It's so hard for me to have that last lap kick because I use that on my third lap. That's where I'm the strongest. So definitely the time difference between the UCI versus the Gone Riding series. That's definitely the hardest for me.
Okay. You had mentioned the laps in the race this weekend at Markham. You ran a 24:40, a 24:40, a 24:30, and then a 24:50. 24:30 to a 24:50. I always talk in my show about negative splitting. I wouldn't view this as any sort of concern going on a 20-second difference from the lap earlier. So based on your sentence, it still sounds like you have the ability to muscle out that latter part of the race, let's say that hour and a half to an hour and 20 minutes, which most commonly the Florida State racing is compared to the National Series. What do you think you attribute that to being able to run level splits and put in that energy on the last one, yet at the national level, you consolidate your energy only into a 75-minute race? How were you able to pull this off last weekend?
It was a lot of well, I wanted to win, obviously that's what I can say a lot to it too. But it's also
Okay.
there was a lot of moments in the race where you know, Markham, obviously you race there or ride there all the time, but there's those really punchy hills, and I love punchy hills. Like those I can just fly up those hills. And that's where I know I can gap other people just because I'm so strong up there. So the fact I
Okay.
just tried to every single hill in that race, I was like, I just need to sprint up it and get up it. So I
Okay.
think I just really tried to keep that on my mind, and I do that at the UCI races as well. Just get up the hill and recover later on. Don't worry about what happens after that.
Right.
So I think Markham was really it helped me to do that because of those recoveries and those short little sprints and all that stuff. Um,
Okay.
and like I said, it was just like a mental thing that I would be able to get a gap on all those guys. Then you know I could recover while they pulled me back and all that stuff.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys had so you apparently you and Ryan had a sprint finish because he got not enough to even calculate two tenths of a second. Jonathan got was 14 seconds behind, and then Chaparro, I think Julio squeaked in there, and then Chaparro was behind him. How did the finish actually go with Ryan? And um, before I actually get into the having the race this weekend, what is it like? I was very fortunate in my career for almost 2 decades to line up with Ryan. You're now lining up with Ryan. He is one of, if not the best in the state. You are clearly an up and comer. What about nerves, any sort of anxiety, and how do you feel when you line up with Ryan? Given that he is also from Ocala, which I don't know if you guys are in theory training partners or not, and maybe that makes it a little bit easier, but what is it like to line up with somebody like Ryan?
Yeah, obviously the big thing is that he's also from Ocala. So I just over the years I've gone to his bike shop. He's worked on my bike countless times, and we've just become really good friends off of that standpoint. So I would say a majority of it is just purely friendly. You know, I don't think I've ever when I was younger I would say I did, but now going through the years it's all just like, man, I'm so happy I get to race against someone at this level and put up such a good fight because it's so awesome to see people like even Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
so many people from Ocala do that well because I count them as my friends. You know, I count Ryan and Jacob as my good friends. So it's always great to see them line up next to me and be like, oh, this is going to be a good race because I know these guys are here. You know, it's a good thing just to whether or not I win or not, but it's just cool to have a good race, especially in Florida. I love seeing good competition.
Right, the camaraderie, having that good camaraderie of everybody. Ryan said something on my show 2 weeks ago about that nobody on the starting line is your enemy, and I was so taken back by that sentence because it really meant a lot to me. It's that you want to race everybody out there, you want to straight up be racing with them, not take anybody out, and everybody, you can be friends with everybody. I think one of the best parts about having that kind of energy on the starting line is once the race is over, if you legitimately, based on this, you lost the sprint to Ryan, and you can cross the finish line bummed at yourself, but you can also congratulate the hell out of him for throwing down a great race. How did the end of the race go? Because apparently you guys were you guys literally were together every single lap. Every lap you were together. I guess you pulled everybody through on lap one. Ryan hot on your tail, and the rest of the day went like that. Let's go from hole shot to checkers. Hole shot meaning who got into the woods first. Checkers crossing the finish line. We know Ryan crossed the finish line with a sprint. Who got the hole shot in your class?
Julio actually got it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
At
yeah,
what
went
point
Julio, me, and then Ryan, I believe.
Okay, at what point did you guys get around Julio? Was it going around the lake to the back of the gun range, or did you still sit in?
No, it was yeah. So as coming through the first lap, it was Julio led a phenomenal first like that first like I guess you call it half about throughout
Okay.
that pond or before the pond. He led a phenomenal first half. It was such a good pace and everyone was happy with it. And then Jonathan, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. We're going through the pond and looking at the video, he was I think like sixth, seventh, eighth area in the whole shot.
Okay.
Was able to pull around all of us at the pond and just sprinted to the that gun range trail. And I
Okay.
knew if he just dropped that insane attack, I did not want him to lead throughout the rest of the lap. So I just got in front of him right before the gun range and then held a pretty consistent pace throughout the that back half of the course.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that's where I got around him. And I think Ryan he might have also gotten around Jonathan as well right there. I'm not too sure what happened, but I know I was leading.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the two of you and Ryan at a certain point started to gap away from Jonathan. And I guess it came in the last lap. If you got him by 15 seconds, where did that start to occur?
Yeah, so I think it was throughout the second and third lap, it was me, Ryan, Jonathan, Jacob, Julio. I think there was another guy in there. I forget who he was, but another guy in
Maybe
there.
Andres, maybe Chaparro was with you guys.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah,
Okay.
but we were with him for the whole second lap. Nothing really happened second lap. You know, the six of us, whatever it was, just kind of strolling through. And then the third lap, Jonathan attacked again on the pond, and I wasn't able to lead that gun range lap, so he just went berserk on that third lap, and I was
Okay.
me and Ryan, or I was with Jonathan, and Ryan was actually 10 seconds back at this point. So we actually dropped Ryan and Jacob and that whole group, and it was just me and him going through the third lap. And then we pulled on to like, I don't know the trail names down there, but there was the last double track segment before the final trail.
Okay.
The trail right before that, there was that hard right hand bender with like the bunch of the
Yep.
trees.
Yep.
Jonathan actually went left instead of right. So I just took the lead by him taking a wrong turn. And
Okay.
Brian also got around him there, but he still wasn't like on my wheel, just got around him. And then we went through there, and I was like, oh man, now I have a 10-second gap on all of them. I decided I'd like kind of go a little bit, not like attack, but just go to not let them catch up easily. So I
Hmm.
went and then came through the fourth lap with I think it was about a 10-second gap on, or maybe not even that, on Jonathan and Ryan. And I kind of, I knew I couldn't hold a gap off of them for the whole last lap. So I just
Okay.
let them come back and I was like, all right, chill out, take a goo and just chill out. I did. And then on those hills, like I was saying before, I just was like, all right, that's where I can really get a gap. So I pushed that whole first lap half segment. And then Ryan dropped Jonathan somewhere and then pulled me back on the pond. And then he just went around me at that double check I was talking about last lap, right before that last trail. And it was just a
Uh,
freaking drag race on that last double track. Oh man. But I was stupid. Oh my gosh, I gave him the inside corner and I shouldn't have done that. And he just took the inside and got in front of me, and that
so
was
with
the end of
that,
it.
I'll probably put a piece of the video up, but what Jack's referring to is we popped out of one before the last piece of single track. There was a double track. Truly, the finish ultimately was coming down to this section of double track because it really was your only opportunity to pass unless you got aggressive inside the trail, which generally at Jack's level is not going to happen. The end of this straightaway, and I think I have an idea what you're referring to. It was a double track that hung a left into single track. There was an inside that you should have probably protected, but the issue was it was slightly on the grass. The vantage point of the grass didn't really lead you to wanting to be on top of the grass. You probably went slightly off to the right side, which was technically where the dirt line was, and maybe what we would ride every day. But the true line, the protecting line, was to run through the grass. So it sounds like you might have had a perception of the grass compared to the dirt line. Ryan, fortunately, using his veteran experience, dove on that inside. Number one, the two of you have to sprint like hell down the straightaway. You got to be able to stay with you. So good job for him. But number two is you open the corner ever so slightly. He closed it in the grass, and fortunately, in the grass is where the traction is too, to have that lean angle to the bike to be able to hold that line, because you can blow it out also. Is that kind of what happened after the fact?
Yeah, I don't think he hit the grass, but I think my front wheel was just barely in front of his back wheel to where I just kind of had to follow the outside, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And
Yep.
I don't really, my brain was so scattered because I was so tired. So I don't even remember what happened. I just remember Ryan coming past me. I'm like, oh, that's not good, probably. Yeah, but it was, I mean, a great race overall. I mean, we and Ryan probably talked for 10 minutes afterwards, and it was just such a positive and fun, just, just such a
That's
good
the
time.
Yeah, man. Again, that's the best thing, is after these races over, when the two of you can hash out you're not hash out in a bad way, but talk about the whole race, about how cool certain sections were. And I was very fortunate to have many of those conversations with Ryan. You mentioned earlier about liking technical and handleability of the bike. Markham Park is my home park, and I had a little bit of influence on the design of the park. One of the things that I wanted to put in was a lot of our, I guess in theory, jump lines, where if you're not afraid to leave the ground, it's actually a pretty fun park. One of the famous trails that we have is called Area 51. It's one of those climbs that you said you'd like to attack, because you have to climb into Area 51. You take a right-hand turn, and then you get to drop down a wood ramp, and it gets into the jump line. Tell me how you felt, and did you nail all the jumps going through that jump line?
Yeah, that was for sure. I felt like home going through that segment. And so in the pre-ride, I hit the step down all the way to the right, and then into
Yep.
that really big booter on the left side. So I was going for it on
Yep.
the pre-ride, and I thought about doing it in the race, but it kind of took away from the speed because it was such a steep ramp,
Right.
so it wasn't worth it. But I did take the that wooden drop into the table, or not the tabletop, but the roller, I guess you could call it,
Uh-huh.
into the table after that. But yeah, that section with those two berms, man, that was a good segment for sure.
Yeah, that park is so fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and look forward to having you back here next year again. For being so new to the sport, and again I refer to new, even though you've had a lot of racing, and now having to line up with the likes of Ryan and Vic and all the fast guys. Um, you mentioned about the mistake that you made. It seems you have a really good race craft. What would be one of the things that you can attribute to having a pretty good race craft and understanding your body? And one of the things that I mean by that is, at your level, everybody is fast. At your level, everybody is in shape. It really comes down to a lot having to do with tactics. You're not gonna over outride somebody. It's just not what happens. Ryan got the best of you this weekend. He got the best of you a couple weekends ago in Jacksonville. What do you attribute your ability to develop such a good racecraft at a young age?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really good question. I think a lot of my current craft compared to like in the FSC racing division, I I like to, like I said about Markham, I love to be punchy about my attacks. Like just drill for like 20 seconds and just hope something happens. And I think that's just from like me being just a kid, not a kid, but a
Uh-huh.
younger rider than all the other guys. I know I have a really good like minute power, for instance, like or 30-second power. Like I can just absolutely drill like the pond, for instance. I can just go on that for the minute
Mm-hmm.
and then I recover in the trails. But because of that, I think I like to think about that a lot, especially in UCI racing, where it's so the climbs are so punchy and everything's so punchy, everything's so technical, everything's so difficult, where you're just constantly at high power. you're the whole time, even in a downhill, if you have to pedal, you're pedaling through rocks and you're putting down hard power and
Hmm.
all that stuff. And I think that's where I get a lot of that from. I get a lot of that quick power, and I know I'm strong there, so I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to use that to my advantage. And
Okay.
I think that's where, again, just like being a 20-year-old, that's where most of that comes from.
Got it. And this would be a question at the end, but what is your current threshold? What's your FTP?
It's probably a lot lower than you think. I did a 20-minute test back in September, I think. And it
Okay.
was a 300 watt for 20 minute. That was it.
Okay.
Yep.
And I actually had this conversation last night with somebody at my Moto Monday workout, and it was about threshold. It was about somebody else's numbers. And the way the conversation led, he was kind of disappointed in his numbers compared to somebody else. And I said, what's one of the best things that we have in mountain biking is that regardless of what your power is, if your threshold is 285, then you still have to turn the bike left and right. You still have to go uphill. You still have to descend. There's so much more to the sport. Yes, if you were time trialing in a straight line, your number might be a little bit low. It comes down to watts per kilo, depending upon how much you weigh. But ultimately, in this sport, it's not about. And again, I said it earlier. Um, it's about tactics. How do you use the power that you have and the skill set to get through the trail to turn left and right? So, by all means, I would never be disappointed at telling anybody what your threshold is. It sure, it could be more than that. It does go up and down. That's why we train like we do. But you're doing something right. So whatever it is, man, keep doing it. And how much do you weigh right now?
About like 160, 165. But it kind of fluctuates between there. Yeah.
Okay. What's next for you, Jack? Obviously you're gonna chase the rest of FSC, try and beat Ryan. Next weekend we are at your home course. Unfortunately, it's Ryan's home course too, so we'll see what the two of you do to each other there. But what's next for you after the state series is over in December?
Yeah. So we're hopefully similar to last year. And last weekend of February, first weekend of March, for those 2 weeks, we'll be down in Puerto Rico for some UCI racing down there.
Okay.
And then after that, I think it's Arkansas directly after that. It's like in April, early April kind of time.
Okay.
And then after that, I mean, I'm not too sure what the schedule looks like, but just some probably until like February through like nationals, like July time area, just doing some UCI races from then till then.
Hmm.
That's the
This
plan.
this past year we were in Roanoke, Virginia for nationals. How did you do there?
I did good in the short track. I got oh man, I think I got 22nd, I think, in
Okay.
the book rack, I think, or
Okay.
23rd, 21st, something like that. I don't remember the exact number. But in the XC, I was doing all right, and then I crashed on one of the rocks and broke my foot. So not the
Not a
best
good
finish,
Not a
but
good day. I know I'm familiar with the course. Obviously, was it that final rock before we crossed over the creek to climb back up to the finish?
yeah, that rock to the bridge right there, that
Yep.
left-hander, yeah, right there, yep.
Well, you picked a left line and just and tucked the front on the back side. What happened?
Yeah, kinda. It was so our race was just it was pouring the whole time. It was just
Yep.
disgusting the whole time. And I think it's like my brakes just got clogged up with some mud, you know how it goes, and they come a little slippery. And I was just going down and I was going a little too fast. And I think I kind of got bucked forward. Like I picked my front tire up in the back tire just because I was going faster than I thought, just got bucked and it hit my front tire hit like a little dip. And because
Yep.
my back tire was in the air, I just got sent forward. And I basically jumped over the trail and just hit the wall of the other side of the trail,
On the
like
opposite
on
side,
the
right?
hillside, and went from 20 miles an hour to zero like that. And my foot was the impact point. So that's how that finished. But it's all right.
Is that your worst injury so far in your career?
Yeah, I've had some like some open wound stitches, stuff like that, but nothing I've never broken a bone before. That was the first time I've broken something.
All right. Hopefully there is no more, but unfortunately at 20 years old and you have another 15 years of I don't know, 15 year, 18 years of a really strong career. Unfortunately, there might be something that comes
I
up
assume
again. Let's
so.
fingers crossed. Let's hope not,
Yeah,
but
knock
you
on
never
wood.
know.
Yep.
All right, tell me, or tell us a little bit about Dirt Camp Racing. What is that program, and how do they help you out? What is it that you do?
Yeah, I got on a dirt camp. Now I guess it's the third year I've been on the team. So I'm going into my third year U23, and that's why I wanted to be on a development team to be supported as a U23 athlete. But they've been great. We're a specialized sponsor team. I got my new bike a couple months ago. It's great. Bike's awesome.
You're on the
They,
Epic Eight.
they yeah, the Epic 8.
Okay.
Yes, the Epic 8. Yeah, awesome bike. But they also we have a bunch of other sponsors, ESI Grips, Orange Seal, SRAM, Maxxis. And I mean, I love all those brands. I use all of them. I'm dedicated to those brands. And I have been before I was even on Dirt Camp. So it's great to now be sponsored by those brands. As you know, I
Okay.
mean, sponsors are a lot. It's
Yeah, of
not
course.
everything almost.
That's a
But even
great.
at
Those
like
are great
those
companies.
yeah. Even at those big races like Arkansas or Puerto Rico, I stay with the team at those areas. Puerto Rico, we have like a dedicated house to the team. All of our food and all the coaches are there, so we can ask them all the questions and all that stuff. That's the main thing. The coaching is phenomenal. I don't know if you know Carson Beckett or Jerry
Of
Dufour, but
course.
some of those guys, yeah, like they're on the Dirt Camp professional team.
Hmm.
They coach a lot of our athletes, and they're just phenomenal. I mean, they know more about the sport obviously than me, and they're just great to learn from.
Yeah, there's that. I've heard a lot of good things about Dirt Camp Racing. I'm obviously friends with Joseph, and I've been friends with him for a long time. But it's an excellent program that they have, and I'm sure they're going to keep you on track to become the ultimate athlete that you want to be. What is your aspirations? Where do you want to go with this sport?
Yeah, I love thinking about that question. um, as of right now, the I guess short term goal for would be just my U23 year. So I have 2 more years left. 2026 and 2027, I guess, would be my last two.
Okay.
And my goal for that would to be I would love to get a U23 medal at nationals. That would be like the most awesome goal for me.
Hmm.
Um, and also just like race some World Cups. Go out to potentially Europe and do some stuff out there, or just the North American League, like Lake Placid or Mont Saint Anne just happened last weekend, this weekend,
Hmm.
last weekend, and the week before this. Sorry. But stuff like that, I love the big races. All those courses are so fun to me, and I would love to race for a pro team one day. That would be the main goal of all this for sure.
Man, I'd love to sit back and have another interview with a couple years from now, looking back on this one and hear about all your successes. I think you're one of the guys that could probably do it. It's just a matter of staying focused into it. And the sentence that I constantly say, it never gets any easier. You just get faster. So when you can harness that energy and know that the suck factor is always going to be there, I think you'll do just fine. You'll do just fine in the sport. Let me hit you with a couple more minutes with you. Let me get a couple more questions out of you. Bike brand, I think you're clearly on Specialized for that Epic 8. What tire pressure are you running in the front? What tire pressure are you running in the rear?
Yeah, so I'm running the Recon Races 2.35 right now, and I'm running, I think about, for Markham, I had about uh 21 in the front, and I think about 20, 21, 22 in the rear. I don't know, maybe remember the exact. But for local riding here, just because we have so many pine needles and all that brown ice around here, I like to drop it a little bit. So I'm running about 19, 18, something around that range.
Wow. It's interesting because when I posed this question to Ryan, and he hit me the same way with a number that I was surprised with, that it was higher than what I expected.
Hmm.
I'm running 14 and a half to
Wow.
15 in the front on a 2.4 tire, and then 17, 18 in the rear. And that's actually a little bit harder than I normally do at Markham, and it's just because of the conditions, how the conditions were that day, how fast the berms were. But that does seem a little bit high. But again, who am I to question somebody like yourself that's crushing it out there? So good job. How
Yeah.
many hours how many hours a week do you train?
Right now, because of base, I'm probably ended up doing about 15, like with all the strength training and all that stuff combined, probably about 15, 17-ish around there.
Okay. And you're on, you guys use Training Peaks, correct?
Yep.
What kind of TSS numbers do you run in the week? And
That's a
if
good
you don't
question.
know, it's okay too.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever looked at that before.
Okay.
I can check if
Fair.
you'd like, but
No,
I'm not
it's
too
a,
sure.
it's okay. You could check on your own time. I was just
All right.
curious what that number is. Granted, it's not necessarily relevant because a lot has to do with the amount of effort that you put in, but about how many miles do you think is an average week for you?
Yeah, I do a lot of road riding, so that's where this number's going to come from. But
Okay.
I'd say it ends up being about probably about 150 to 200 a week.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. Fair. It's an acceptable number. Um, I ask everybody this question also. Is there any other athlete that that you look up to, that motivates you, that you want to be like, that is constantly a mentor to make you want to continue to grow and get to that next level that you want to?
Yeah, there's a couple guys. I love like any guys in the specialized factor team, like Chris Blevins or Martin Vidor. Like those guys are awesome to me. But I even like I look up a lot to like Ryan Woodall even. A guy
Okay.
who I can ride with a lot, and a guy who I just can go see at any time. Obviously, I can't go see a professional athlete.
Uh-huh.
But I do racing with Ryan and riding with Ryan is it's almost the same thing, which is kind of funny. Because he's so whenever he races, it's so I don't know how to describe it, but it's very himself when he races, and I think that's what
Hmm.
makes him so good, almost because he's just so comfortable at being in the pain cave, if that makes
Uh-huh.
sense.
Of
And I
course.
think I would love one day to be able to be in that moment or to not be in that moment, but just to be like that and to be able to just be okay with being in the pain cave and riding at so hard at such a high level for so long.
Hmm.
It's cool for me to have him right down the road for me. That's what makes it so cool. And yeah.
Yeah, those are some good names that you're dropping there, and I think most of all to have Ryan as close as you do, to be able to learn from, bouncing off of, and be a true mentor for you, because he is a phenomenal athlete and has been doing it for a long time. For any of the fans out there that want to follow your success, follow what it is that you're doing, how can somebody follow you or track you?
My main thing's Instagram, and people might call me Jack, but my real name's John. So Instagram at John Mizzoni is my that's my tag.
Okay. All right. And then in closing with this, is there any one piece of advice that you might be able to give somebody else that's looking to make a career out of racing mountain bikes or follow a similar path to what you're doing? Is there any one piece of advice or any one thing that stands out in your head that is going to keep you motivated into it and continue to grow, that you might want to share with us?
Um, yeah, I think I love just the phrase that practice makes perfect,
Mhm.
especially in like a race, like when seeing like the work that you've done actually pay off, and either whether or not that's winning or getting top 10 at a whatever race or whatever you want to call it. That's a phrase I like to use a lot, especially even if just like running a lap up to perfection, even at like the FSC, just being like, oh wow, that was a phenomenal lap. Let's do that three more times or whatever.
Right.
I love the idea of perfecting something, and I think if you can perfect something, then you've accomplished the goal.
It's a great piece of advice. I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make in the sport, is that I don't believe that the art of practicing mountain biking is necessarily done in the proper way. I think people just think go out and ride their bike for 45 minutes in the woods and they're practicing. I think there's got to be a lot more focus into the details, kind of what you're hinting to about practicing.
Mhm.
Jack, listen, I greatly appreciate you hanging out with me today on Hook, Line, and Shifter, taking your valuable time to share your experiences and share your race weekend with the fans. I had fun learning. I'm sure everybody else did the same. I look forward to seeing your career blossom. And if there's anything I can do for you any weekend, please feel free to hit me up. Any questions for me before we wrap up?
No, that's it, man. Thank you so much for having me on here.
No problem, Jack. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend up at your home course in Ocala. Thanks for coming on Hook, Line, and Shifter, Jack. Have a great training week.
Yeah, man, you too.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
What a great interview from Jenn and Jack. Jenn is just, man, her energy is infectious. She's so much fun to be around. And Jack being the new superstar, I would imagine that some of those red #1 plates are soon to be in his future. Ryan's going to do his best to keep holding him off as long as he can, but Jack is doing really, really well. Dirt Camp Racing, another program that's keeping him in line and really progressing his future. I hope that everything he said about the U23 for the next 2 years and then to progress his career to hopefully someday make a living racing bicycles would be absolutely amazing. All right, last weekend, this topic came up a few times to me, and I wanted to take the time to discuss it. So first and foremost is we're going to talk about the feed zone, the feed/tech. Unfortunately for us in amateur racing, we don't have a tech zone. So you watch on TV, you watch the UCI, they have the opportunity to have a tech zone, which means they take their bicycle into a specific area where they can get technical assistance. We do not have technical assistance, which means you have to be 100% self-sufficient on your bike. This past weekend, one of the elite guys wound up getting a flat. Pushed his bike or rode his bike on the flat all the way back to the feed zone, start-finish zone where all the tents are, and went under his tent and tried to repair the flat. Unfortunately, was disqualified, was DQ'd for it. I have to say I have some personal knowledge of this. I don't know what year it was, 2018, somewhere around there. I was racing in Windham, New York. I won the race, didn't hear my name called, went over to the official. Come to find out, they disqualified me. Why did they disqualify me? My rear brake rotor loosened. When I went over to my feed/tech, which doesn't exist. I learned the hard way. Had tools under the tech zone, and I had a center lock wrench, and I tightened the rotor down and went back out onto the race course. Actually, never left the race course, pulled off to the side. Come to find out that in amateur racing, there is no tech zone. You have to be 100% self-sufficient. I also, much like this expert last weekend, I also got DQ'd from a race at Markham Park. Same thing, I broke a chain, pushed the bike all the way back to my feed zone, and unfortunately wasn't scored that day. Got DQ'd because I wasn't self-sufficient. So you have to remember, you have to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient also means you cannot get assistance from anybody else on course. CO2s, chain tools, tube, an extra pump. These are things that you might want to consider. In addition to that, you might want to consider practicing how do you fix a flat. If you do it right, it should be about a 2-minute, somewhere around there, maybe a 2.5 minute repair. Breaking a chain, understand how to put a power link in a chain. You have something called a clean brake and a dirty brake. Clean brake simply means the chain breaks and you're left with 2 ends to slide the power link back into. You get up on your bike and ride. That one, you're probably looking at 45 seconds at the most to repair the chain. Dirty brake means one half of the link is still left inside the chain. You got to use your chain tool to break the rest of the link out and then throw a power link into it. Dirty brake, maybe 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes if you're not good at it. One of the things that I actually practice is how to fix the bike on the fly in a scenario like this. If you look at the results, you'll also see that 1 minute and 45 seconds sometimes could be the difference between first and third. The longer these races go on, a lot of the gaps get larger and larger. So don't be afraid to learn how to practice it and learn how to repair your bike on your own. But again, feed and tech zone. We have feed zones and tech. We do not have tech. Amateur racing does not have tech. You have to be self-sufficient. Feed zones, a lot of times Gone Riding will give an open feed zone, which simply means you could feed anywhere on the course. Somebody can pass your water bottle, a gel, anything that you want on the full course. Usually in some of the other races, there's a designated feed zone. For instance, a start finish. You might have through the fence this past weekend, you might have through the fence will start the feed zone. And just before you go back out of the fence, you're going to end the feed zone. That simply means you can only get fed within that area. So again, no outside assistance, no getting back to your tent to fix your bike for the tools that are sitting underneath it. Sorry. That's the rules. That's the way it is. The next topic that comes up, and this one I actually hear a lot. Why doesn't Dave give us a nice long shoot, or Gone Riding give us a nice long shoot straight to the finish so we can sprint finish? Yeah, that might be a good idea. But one of the things that Dave does really well is, in addition to electronic scoring, is he's also physically watching every moment of the race. Physically watching every time somebody passes under. So in the event that electronic scoring doesn't work out right, he has a backup plan. Doesn't happen that often, but it's always good for him to have a backup plan. So the reason we can't have a sprint finish, you cannot have an open shoot where you're going to wind up going 18, 20, 22 miles an hour over an arch, which has to be pretty close to scoring, and straight into the Gone Riding trailer. Ain't going to happen. But does that mean because there is no sprint finish that the race is not fair? Not true. If you heard in Jack's interview, he mentioned that there was one piece of double track or fire road before we got into the last piece of single track that in his race, and much like everybody's, this kind of was designated as the sprint zone, because once you got to the end of the straightaway, you hung a left, like he said, where Ryan jumped him. You hung a left into the last piece of single track, and then it was single track, small little piece of road that you couldn't do anything on, through a fence, and then another small piece of double track before you went through the chute. So the race really happened at that. What does it mean is that you have to intend on that being the sprint zone. Save the energy, get ready for it, make the best of that area. It doesn't always have to be a wide open chute that you wind up sprinting through the finish with. Sorry again, but that's the reality of what we have to deal with most of our Florida racing. Sometimes out-of-state racing, you might get that. The USA Cycling, the Nationals, they're pretty good because they'll give us a nice wide open chute, electronic scoring with all of them also. Tactically, you can't rely on you don't want to rely on always having to sprint directly to the finish. And again, Jack's interview was a great example of that. So again, I hope you like those interviews with Jenn and Jack. All right. What else do we got? 2 segments this week. Questions from the fans and Wood Racing. I'll close with Wood Racing, but we're going to go with questions from the fans. Questions from the fans can either be through an email to me, mtbcoachbob@gmail.com, or it just happens to be somebody that comes up to me at one of the races and talks to me, asks me what the something about the race. One of the common themes that I hear, and it actually came up 3 times in the past weekend, was I brake too much. I have to get off the brakes. I understand the concept. I understand the thought process of saying I have to get off the brakes. But I constantly when I'm working with my clients or talking with my clients, I don't discuss braking. Yes, sometimes we have braking points in a corner or breaking points that you might focus in on. But there's 3 topics, and I've said it before in my show: lines, legs, and limbs. Where is your front wheel? What are your legs doing? And what are your arms doing? What is your body position? Lines, legs, and limbs. So the number one question that I ask is, at the moment you chose to hit the brakes, what was your line selection? Where was your front wheel at the moment you chose to hit the brakes? If you say, I don't know, I don't have a braking problem, I have a line selection, line choice problem. If you know where your front wheel was and you hit the brakes, I then ask you, what were your legs doing? I don't know. Were you pedaling through the corner? Were you in the saddle with your outside leg down? Were you standing up with your outside leg forward? Were you standing up with your outside leg down? How did all of those coincide with your line choice? I don't know. You don't have a braking problem. You have a line choice and leg selection problem. Bob, my line was exactly where you wanted it to be. My legs were doing exactly what I wanted them to do. Okay. Third topic, limbs, your arms. What were your arms doing? Were your elbows up? Were your elbows down? Was your outside elbow pushed into your ribs? Were your shoulders pushing out of the corner as opposed to committing around the corner? Same moment, what were your legs doing? And what was your line selection at that moment? Point of this quick topic is, don't focus so heavily on braking or not braking. Spend more of your time when you're practicing mountain biking focusing in on, what is your line selection? What are your legs doing? And what are your arms doing? Don't forget, we call them lines, legs, and limbs in that order. It's in that order because, generally speaking, when you don't know where your line selection is and you don't know where that front wheel is, that's the number one reason that you're probably going to wind up going down. I'm going to put in a small section. I'll probably dub in a small section here of this line selection that I'm talking about and not knowing exactly where it is. And the reason I say that is I ran over somebody in the final lap of the race because they were crashing right inside this corner. I'm going to put it in there. It's actually in Outback. So that was the question that came up. Bob, I hit the brakes way too much. I need to stop hitting the brakes. No. You need to know why you're hitting the brakes, and it falls inside one of those 3 topics. All right, final one. Woulda racing. Bob, I woulda done a lot better if. I woulda racing. I love this one. Never gets old to me. And all I'm doing is just listening to what I hear. So we have 3 wouldas from Markham Park this past weekend. Number 1 woulda. I worked late last night. Okay? They worked late last night, meaning Saturday night. What was late? Oh, I got home at 9. Okay. Fair enough. You worked late. Number 2. I can't jump. Markham does have a lot of jumps, but they say I can't jump. By the way, Ryan won his race, and I do know for a fact he's not that good at jumping. I would have done a lot better if I could jump. Okay, sounds like something you might want to fix. And then this one actually came out a lot. This one makes me smile too. Number 3 on woulda racing at Markham Park. I don't like Markham. Simple fact. I don't like Markham. Well, I'll tell you what. There's going to be a lot of parks you don't like, but every park has the exact same thing. Rocks, roots, dirt, trees. Every park has the exact same stuff. How it's configured, yeah, maybe a little bit different. You can't not like the park and use that as a reason why you don't do well. Yes, there might be some parks that you struggle at. Yes, there might be some parks that you don't favor. But don't make excuses. Own the process, own your results. And if there's something that you don't like and something you're not that good at, guess what? It sounds like a good reason to practice mountain biking. I can't stress it enough. Practice mountain biking. I think I said it with Jack. Practice the sport, practice the art of mountain biking. So that was the Wood of Racing from Markham Park in the past weekend. What's up next? This weekend, we're up in Ocala for the Florida State Championship Series Round 4 at the Vortex. Like I said, Ocala has 3 sets of trails. Trailhead, Vortex, and Landbridge. We're racing the Vortex. Super technical and fast and flowy. Home course to Ryan and home course to Jack. Be interesting to see who comes out on top there. I'm all about racing, but I'm hoping Jack can maybe get the best of Ryan. Looks like it's going to be a good year between the two of them, and hopefully Jack can eventually pull off getting his first red #1 plate from the elite category in the Florida State Championship Series. As always, can't do any of this without my sponsors. Thank you, Orcus Technologies, ESI Grips, U-Cycling, MASH Mobile Vet, POC Helmets, NV Wheels, Pirelli Tires, and Absolute Black. Don't forget about my discount code HLS2025 to get 20% off site-wide. Thank you so much for clicking in today and watching another episode of Hook, Line, and Shifter. Please, if you like the channel, click like, subscribe, and share. Most of all, I hope you enjoy it. I was your host, Bob McCarty. Thanks for watching. Have another great training week. We'll see you all next weekend up in Ocala. Thanks again.